Hello folks, welcome back. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania, and this is a reaction video to comments on my most recent video about Nobs Mkhize, the unruly passenger on a fly-SAF air flight from Durban on the East Coast to the mother city of Cape Town on the West Coast of South Africa on Boxing Day 2024. Now, it's interesting. This video has generated a fair number of views on my channel and also a lot of comments, over 330 comments when I started preparing for this video a short while ago, and the number continues to climb. And let's take a look at the data on the video thus far. So I published it on the 30th of December, which was yesterday, and it's not been 24 hours since it went up, but that says 21,000 views, but YouTube data is trailing, so it's well over 23, approaching 24,000 views at this hour, and the comments are now well north of 336. 98.4% of the comments are likes. For 21,000 views, 736 likes is a pretty significant return on investment, so to speak. Thank you for those likes. And if you disliked it, thank you for that, for engaging in the commentary. But I'm going to respond now to some of the comments. Some are insulting, some are calling me names, some are positive, and we're just going to take a look at a few comments from people that I've selected amongst the 336 that I found in here. When I record and put myself on social media, I put myself out there, which makes me open to people's comments, both positive and negative. Well, you do the same when you comment on social media, particularly on videos on these channels. And so if you don't want to be famous, then don't comment. If you don't mind people sharing and seeing what you have to say, then you won't mind me sharing these comments here. There is no animus directed at any of these folks or any praise for any of them, although I'll give a little bit of praise, I suppose. But here we go. Let's take a look at the comments that I've highlighted thus far in reaction to my video and my reaction to those comments. And by the way, Happy New Year to everyone out there. It's December 31st, early morning here on the East Coast. It's Silvester Abend for Germans, celebrating St. Sylvester. Let's get to the comments. Well, first out of the gate, Heniel Mona Villon said it's sad that the hatred for races are not only from the one race, but it comes from all the races towards one another. It'll be our downfall. We need to stop this hatred and prejudice toward each other. Also, rudeness and entitlement from any human being is just a horrible thing. Well, 100%, Henny. Race is a BS artificial construct fabricated to divide people by Europeans in the 19th century to justify their colonization of the planet. Now, Europeans are far from the first peoples to colonize the planet. The entire planet was colonized by all kinds of peoples coming out of Africa and spreading throughout the world, all the way to Australia, the Pacific Islands, Easter Island, as remote as it is, and all across the Bering Strait down into the Americas. So the world has been colonized time and again. The Europeans, however, managed it on an industrial scale in the 19th and 20th century, and justified that in many respects with racial constructs, which are total nonsense. If we weren't all the same, we wouldn't be able to knock boots and reproduce. So get over yourselves, those who want to push racial narratives. It's silly and stupid. Let's grow up for the 21st century. Moving on to the next comment. Now, this comment isn't exactly complimentary towards me. Lindy Soka 5944 says, presenter, stop pulling racism cards by saying that if it was a Liesel, she would have been fired. If she was a Tembi with no political ties, she would have been fired. It is a class and connection issue that has nothing to do with race. Stop it and use your brain for once. Your hate for black people makes it hard to put your brain muscles to good use. Ouch. Wow, that's pretty insulting, condescending, and somewhat racially charged. What's my response? Well, your claims are baseless and silly, to say the least. Aside from your effort to turn this into a race debate, your ignorance of my character, my associations, and my past and current contributions, let alone the hundreds of thousands of black Africans who are alive today as a direct consequence of my intervention, shows you have no idea who I am or what I stand for. Before making groundless insults based on your incorrect assumptions, try doing a little research. Your presumptions are ludicrous. Also, take your own advice and not only use your brain, but try doing at least a modicum of research about who I am before calling me names. It's not that hard to find out who I am or what I've done or what I'm all about. Cherry picking one video that suits your worldview and your bigotry towards me because of my skin pigmentation is not a good look. Look at the body of my work. Look at how I have defended black, white, and brown people, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, straight, gay, all over the world. I stand for what's right, moral, and just. It isn't based on race. It isn't based on nationality. It isn't based on ethnic origin or language. So stop being a deuce and start contributing to the conversation. Your comments are baseless and groundless and founded on nothing but your projections of your insecurities and your worldview on me. And enough of that one. Moving on to the next comment. Now, this one's interesting, I've got to say, before I get to the comment. This one's interesting because Michael Taylor Michael Taylor 8835 says, what is an American talking about South African affairs for? If you look at the avatar, you'll notice that Michael Taylor has a silver dollar of John F. Kennedy with a bullet hole in his cranium and red blood dripping from it. So it's kind of hard to take a troll like this seriously when they put such insulting and dangerous and vile images for their avatar. But what is an American doing talking about South African affairs? Well, turnabout is fair play. Michael, why is a South African posting comments on an American's channel? Next silly question. Honestly, I'm a journalist and I cover the world. So foot sec, grow up and troll elsewhere. And get rid of your horrible, shameful, violent avatar. It's rude and disgusting. Moving on to the next comment. Mkhize Setiohane 2218 says the Patriotic Alliance is going after her, which is good. We pissed at all the stuff these people get away with. We are pissed. I presume you meant right. And I said, yes, I'm eagerly awaiting the filing of the Patriotic Alliance and Democratic Alliance cases to see if both follow through on their promises. Although from my perspective, they have no standing to file a criminal complaint, but everyone on that flight does. What I mean by that, folks, is that now, I'm not a lawyer, so you can attack my position on this, but I see no standing in the court for either of these political parties to file a criminal case against this woman. They're not an aggrieved party. They weren't harmed by it. However, the South African Police Service, Fly Saf Air, and every passenger on the flight is an aggrieved party and does have standing, in my view, and all should file grievances against this woman if they like. So that's the point of that one. All right, that's a good comment, though. Thank you for sharing that, Mkhize. Appreciate it. Moving on to the next comment. And this is one where I have to give credit where credit is due. This is a brilliant comment, very insightful, and this is a sort of view I think a lot of people ought to take on what's going on here. Richard Naidu says the really underlying issue is that people have lost their moral compass. 100% correct. It comes down to greed, corruption, and entitlement that makes these comrades believe they're a class above the rest. Indeed, they do. Even if she's not a comrade and is name-dropping, the issue here is how the organization is perceived by people, what the brand has deteriorated to. I couldn't agree more. The people could use its name to break the law and feel entitled to do so. That's the issue that needs to be addressed. Shame on you, comrades. My response to Richard, well, I can say in response, was 100% on the post. But here I'll tell you that Richard's spot on. The ANC and its privileged position is a worldview shared by many cadres that they're special. And all they have to do is threaten people with the ANC or they're standing in the political party, and that gives them a free pass to act like fools. Now, it's not just in South Africa. We see this the world over. Here in America, we see all sorts of Karens who get pulled over by law enforcement and then pull out the card. Well, you don't know who my husband is. You don't know who my wife is. You don't know who I am. Oh, I'll have your job. You know, I'm this, I'm that, and the other. Elected officials, politically connected people, people in business, powerful people, and they think they can throw their weight around because they're special. But nobody's special. Some people apply themselves better than others. Some people accomplish much more than others, but we're no different. We are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable abilities. And that's where we go forward. How we're inculcated, how we're raised, what moral compass we have is a consequence of our inculcation and our experience. And that's what matters. That's what differentiates us. Not our race, not our ethnicity, not our gender, but rather how we become who we are. And so 100%, this is ridiculous. These people think they're special. These people, that's not a racial dog whistle. I'm talking about ANC cadres, black, white, and brown. These are these people. So for the hate wankers that want to cut and paste this video, go ahead, because anyone who watches it is not going to believe your nonsense. The point here is that nobody is special. We all come out of the womb. Most of us the same way. Some people through a cesarean. Painful for mom. Sorry about that, mom. Not my mom. I came out. Shot out the canal. Anyway, we all come out the same way. And at some point, sadly, we all leave this existence. So treat others with respect and kindness and stop being total tools and doos. Enough of this nonsense. And Richard Naidu, you get the best comment thus far on the comment section. So thank you for that, sir. Moving on to the next comment. Now, Sean Mitchell, 504, asked a very good question. Why the dig at Joe Biden? If he left it at that, then this would be a serious question. But then he goes on and says, this behavior is reminiscent of MAGA princesses such as Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Okay, so you're basically accusing me of putting Joe Biden in the conversation with no basis, but then you introduce Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and attribute the behavior of an unruly passenger on a South African flight to unruly behavior by those women. No, it's nothing. They're not even remotely the same. You're doing exactly what you're accusing me of. Of course, I didn't do what you accused me of, and let's talk about that in the comment. So why the dig at Joe Biden? Why not? The commentary called for indicating a potential issue with diminished capacity. The most famous person on the planet with diminished capacity is Joe Biden. Also, he's a public figure, making him fair game for commentary. I was able to make a reference anyone on the planet could understand, regardless where they live, and not harm the dignity of any non-public person or group of people. I didn't say blacks, whites, browns, gays, straights, Muslims, Christians, Orthodox, Jews. I didn't say any of that. And that is, you should be praising me for not attacking any individual or group of people trying to attribute such behavior to them, diminished capacity. In fact, I picked a public figure who clearly has diminished capacity. Anybody on the planet who's objective knows Joe Biden isn't there. And I used that as an example. And also, it was a joke. Get over yourself. Seriously. Moving on to the next comment. Now, in line with Sean Mitchell's comment, Clever Pete 1 has a comment about Joe Biden. Using Joe Biden as an example of diminished capacity is ridiculous. Why not use Chuck Grassley as an example at the age of 91? So this is whataboutism, folks. Clever Pete, who's not so clever, wants to use whataboutism. So, well, Joe Biden, what about Chuck Grassley? Well, what about Chuck Grassley? Chuck Grassley is not mentally incapacitated like Joe Biden is. Chuck Grassley at the age of 91 is sharp as a tack. The fact that you're clearly a Democrat or a leftist and don't like Chuck Grassley isn't germane to the comment. Chuck Grassley was in office when I lived in Iowa in the mid-1990s, 30 years ago. And he was sharp as a tack then and he's sharp as a tack now. He has nothing to do with the conversation. You are projecting yourself into this with whataboutism. The reason for Joe Biden, as I said, the previous comment response to Sean Mitchell, is that he is the world's best example of a person with diminished capacity. He's a public figure. And oh, by the way, it was a joke. Stop taking things so seriously. And this is the final comment here, and then I'll wrap up. UK Asker says, thank you for covering this. I wanted to know what was going on. Also, yeah, if she was white, the media would have a field day. The double standard is real. Now, in response, YY6301 says, what are you talking about? It's on all major South African news online platforms, ENCA, Newsroom Africa. The only major platform I'm not sure of is the SABC, and that's because I don't watch SABC. To be fair to YY6301's response, you are correct, but look at the username. This is a global platform. I have a global audience. UK Asker presumably lives in the United Kingdom. It's not much of a stretch. So UK Asker probably doesn't see access to South African media all day long, every day, like presumably YY does, and I do. We both probably look at South African media all the time. But YY6301, you're missing the point entirely. It's not about that. It's not about whether South African media are covering it. It's how they're covering it. And they're actually covering it correctly for once. And let me get into that. So the media, as I pointed out in my report, are covering the story, but they are not attacking her for the conduct or trying to get any action against her. Bravo to the media. That's how they're supposed to behave. It is not the role of the media to interject themselves into the situation. If only they behave properly all the time, but they do not. The countless articles calling Ronaldo Mkhize and Ramon Kabanak racist by the IOL and other outlets, for instance, are 180 degrees opposite of their treatment of Ms. Mkhize. That is the point. And I'm not saying that the media should call Ms. Mkhize a racist, and I'm not calling her racist either. What I'm saying is that they aren't calling her racist. They aren't calling for her blood. They aren't baying for her blood. They aren't trying to get her fired. Quite the contrast to how they reacted to Ramon Kabanak's story, baseless story, calling him a racist, and that has opened them up to libel and lawsuits, and the same against Ronaldo Mkhize, who committed no racism. Utter nonsense. This is a misapplication of that standard. So the point of this is that the hypocrisy of the media, which is something I call out every day. Another reason for the video. The media should not be saying these things about her, simply reporting the news. And they are doing it for once. Bravo. But YY6301, you're missing the point. They don't do that. Hence the commentary about the media not doing things properly. And that's my reaction to a handful of comments, some positive, some targeting me, some negative, and some very good conclusions by viewers. Thank you for your comments. I really do appreciate it. This sort of discourse is helpful to discuss these issues. And I've used the comments not in a mean fashion to be mean to the people who posted them or, to be overly fawning for those who said nice things about me, but to pick a selection of the comments that are reflective of how people feel. As I said, the overwhelming response to this has been positive for my video, not for Ms. Mkhize's conduct. And I thank you all for that. And I wish you all a happy new year and a lovely, lovely 2025. It is Silvester Abend. It is we celebrate St. Sylvester's Day on December 31st in Germany. And I wish you all a safe and prosperous 2025. Please be careful out there. It is the holiday season. The drunks will be on the road. If you're one of the drunks, stay off the road. Call an Uber, a Lyft. Get a ride from a friend you can trust. For ladies, be especially careful out there. Watch your drinks if you're out carousing and partying tonight. Do not leave your drinks unattended. Same for men, but women, you're especially vulnerable. Be safe out there. God bless, and a Happy New Year.